Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. Thank you very much.
And a good Tuesday, Monday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this President's Day, February the 17th, 2025. We are grateful you're with us tonight.
That's just stupid dumbfoolery.
That is not stupid dumbfoolery just yet. We are trying to get this lighting fixed here. Give me a minute here. It's good to see everybody on a Monday night. And it's pretty bad when you bring yourself on the camera and your own meme starts going off and tells you that that's stupid dumbfoolery. It's not stupid dumbfoolery, at least not yet. And let me get the chroma key off. That will help. There we go. That's much better. And we're going to get rid of the preserve and all this stuff so you can see us better. There we go. We are grateful to see everybody tonight, and we hope that you've got your McFile President's Day attitude going. We're going to be here for a little bit, and We were going to have Bill Federer tonight, but I've got a better. We got so much going on tonight. I wanted to sort of run the show tonight on our Monday Night Smack. We got a lot to talk about, and I didn't want to ruin a good interview by Bill Federer when we got so much other stuff to talk about. Tomorrow night, we will probably put Bill on. It was a pre-recorded interview, and he's going to talk a great deal about some stuff we're going to talk about tonight. As he's concerned, as I am, that we're apathy is going to set in by the Christian faith, and it's really what we're going to be discussing tonight. Is the apostasy of a lot of these pastors and so forth. We got some news stories we want to share with you tonight. We had another plane crash today up in Toronto. The Delta plane left Minneapolis. 8 people are injured tonight. Thank God there were no no deaths, at least as of now. The plane crash is under investigation. There have been firings as it related to the plane crash in D.C. here about 3 weeks ago in the Potomac, and so forth. So it's a very serious time. I don't know about you, but it makes you a little nervous about wanting to fly these days. That you can't trust the people that are overseeing the skies. Now, we don't know what happened with that plane. The weather has been atrocious. Our prayers tonight for all the folks in Kentucky. Understand there's been serious flooding up there. We heard a report there was 8 dead. The AP reported 3 today. The Weather Channel said 10, but they said 8 people were confirmed dead in Kentucky. We'll double check that figure. We'll go with the Weather Channel figure for now, and if we need to correct that, we will. But 10 people were killed over the weekend in bad storms. That was tornadoes Sunday morning that rolled through the south, and then we had flooding rain in Kentucky on top of everything else. I talked to Sandy Sutherland this evening by email, and New England is buried under about 3 feet of snow right now. And that's 36 inches. Even us Southerners are like, holy smokes, that's a lot of snow. And then there's another storm that's headed right across the same path. Now, you folks in Alabama and South Georgia and North Florida are going to be spared this one. You wasn't spared the last one that took this same track, but us in Tennessee, in Kentucky, the Virginias, and the Mid-Atlantic are going to get walloped Wednesday night into Thursday with a 3 to 6 inch snowfall. And then it's going to take its turn north. And you New Englanders know the term nor'easter, which is basically a hurricane off the coast that turns into a winter hurricane. And that's what y'all got coming for you this weekend. So it's not like you're going to get any rest for the weary. And again, our prayers for those that have been affected badly by the weather. But we're grateful to have you tonight with us, and we're going to get right to this. I don't know which one of those memes is going off by itself. It must be this one, the dumb foolery one. We're trying to get McDonald South to get in line with McDonald North, the headquarters. And so just bear with us tonight. The main thing is the content. We'll worry about this cosmetic stuff eventually. We'll get all this right. But I want to just bring my screen in a little bit, put my name down here at the bottom, if you don't mind, and we'll get this fixed. We want to start tonight with some of the news stories that we're covering. And then I'm going to be dealing a lot with this, the church tonight. We're going to talk about the church. Monday night is we used to have Monday Night Smackdown, and those days are gone. But I'm calling this Monday Night Smack now because this is when we discuss things that have to do with the country, and sometimes we'll have guests, sometimes it'll just be me. And I was gonna have somebody tonight, and I said, I need to take this one. I need to take one for the team tonight, and just let it all hang out about some things that are really disturbing me about the apostate church in this country. We're going to play some video in a little while and show you some of the absolute crazy crap that's going on in some of these churches and so forth. And it's not good. Jeannie Castellanova, if you're out there, there's your favorite one. So we'll have that one set up if I need to tonight. So it'll be a fun night. I want to say hello to Denise Martin tonight. Talked to her today for the first time in a long time. It was so good to hear from a friend. And Denise may be coming on the show in a few weeks if I can get her on. And she's such a fine friend, good lady, and I appreciate her and David. And Buddy, it was really good talking to you today, and so forth. And I mean that, and we're grateful that you're here tonight if you are in the audience, and we're super grateful to hear from you today. I want to go to our newswire. I want to talk about some things first, and we've got a Telegram room, and we've changed the name of it. The link is the same, but it's the McFiles Mac Report Newsroom. I'm going to keep the McFiles on it for a little bit so people can find us. And you can basically put that in, the link that they've got out there for you in YouTube tonight. That's going to take you right to it. We are getting ready to launch our K-Star radio program in March, and it will be called the Mac Report News Hour. And it will be very similar to what we do on Monday night, news stories and videos. Of course, it'll be audio, so it won't be videos. It'll be the audio from the video, and it will lead us into our MacFile program on Monday night and Tuesday nights. Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays are always news-related. We do have faith guests on Monday night a lot. Wednesday night, Sunday night are set aside for faith. Saturday night is set aside for gospel singing if we want to do that. But this tonight is some things that have been really eating away at me. And I want to just say this. I'll just make a few general comments. It's a shame and disgrace that the resistance that President Trump is experiencing right now, after 1 month, 3 days from now, I think that'll be Thursday, the 20th, 18th, 19th, 20th. Yeah, Thursday, February the 20th will mark 1 month that President Trump has been in office. Today's President's Day, by the way, and I brought out the Donald Trump inauguration 45-47 hat, the hoodie, in honor of President's Day tonight. And I want to salute President Trump for one of the absolute best months that I have ever seen a president have in the history of presidents. And I'm 60, and I grew up in the Carter years. I grew up, I remember Richard Nixon getting impeached in 1974. I was a 9-year-old kid then. And Ford's last 2 years, I vaguely remember those. I remember some of that. I remember Carter beating him. This country was plunged into 4 years of hell under Carter. And then Reagan came on the scene in 1980 and renewed a sense of patriotism in the country, renewed a sense of honor. We had lost our way under Carter, and 8 years Reagan directed the country right, but there was just always something missing with Reagan's presidency, and I'm not disparaging Ronald Reagan. I believe he was a good man, but there were so many forces and so many elites around him, Bush Sr. being one of them as vice president. And I have no qualm in saying this tonight, that a lot of the things that Reagan could have got accomplished, he didn't, because he had deep state actors in his cabinet. He had deep state people and elites that were working against him. There is several theories, and this is like 40 years ago when he was, they almost killed him. Hinckley went after him that day, that fateful day. It was a March day. We're coming up on the 44th anniversary of that. I was a sophomore in high school. I was playing baseball that day. We were practicing, and one of the kids' dads drove up, and the coach was hitting the baseballs, and he called the coach over, and I could hear him talking, and he said, "Reagan just got shot." And even then, back in '81, it was some of the punk kids that I was playing with. They were laughing about it, and he got out of his car and he basically rebuked these kids, and he said, "That's nothing to laugh about. Your president almost got shot today." And even then, I mean, there were people that hated Reagan's guts, but Reagan, there was just something missing with him. I think he wanted to do a lot more, but he just couldn't. And then Bush Sr. took over in '88, and we had 4 years of him. The Iraq War took place then. It was just so much things, and Bush started messing with Israel. His popularity went from, he was in the like 80% approval rating in 1991 after the Gulf War, and within a matter of a year, because he started tinkering with that land over there in Israel, his approval rating dropped to the point that basically a womanizing Arkansas governor that was as crooked as night as day, had basically Jezebel as his wife in Hillary Clinton, came out of nowhere and beat Bush. I was a news reporter then, and I never will forget covering the debate, covering the election that night, and watching those results come in. Georgia went to Clinton. That was the first time a Democrat had won Georgia on the presidential side in decades. Florida stayed with Bush, but Bush ultimately lost the election. And then we had 8 years of Clinton. And I don't want to get into Clinton because you know what happened with him. And then we had Bush Jr. And back in those days, in 1999 and 2000, the country was sort of sick of all the Clinton affairs and the Clinton scandals, and they wanted a breath of fresh air, and Bush was promising tax cuts, and the economy had sort of rebounded under Clinton. He had choked the government for the first few years. Him and Newt Gingrich got together, sort of met in the middle. The economy was really not the issue in 2000 as much as it was the Clinton stuff. People were sick of it. Al Gore was on the scene. Gore was a nut, and I cringe to believe what Gore would have done had 9/11 taken place under him. And I know a lot of people have got a lot of mixed feelings about Bush Jr., and I'm not saying I don't either. But I remember at the time, the country was welcoming the Bushes because we was not probably aware of how close the Bush and the Clintons were behind the scenes. And a lot of things were hidden in the dark back then. And we had Bush for 8 years. And then the country got so sick of the Bush. George W. Bush Jr. basically left office. He had the Iraq debacle, and the economy went south. He lost the Senate and the House in 2006. Dick Cheney was a complete traitor to this country. Again, it was another presidency where there were so many deep state actors in the White House that you just couldn't even shake a stick at. And Bush wound up leaving the White House in 2008. Of course, Barack Obama was elected that year in a landslide over John McCain, who we come to find out later was just like Obama. He was just a white guy in a suit. Obama was a black guy, and everybody wanted the young black man to be president. And race did play a role in it, whether we want to admit it or not. His race played a big role in it. People were scared to death to say anything about him, because if you did, you were a racist, and that's where the race card really started being played to the hilt by these black leaders. And I'm going to get to the black leadership tonight. It's not going to be too kind either. But Bush left with a 23% approval rating, the absolute lowest of any president other than Harry Truman. Harry Truman's was a little higher when he left office. And the country was just sick. They were just sick of the Bushes. They were sick of the Clintons. They were sick of the Washington names. And they were saying, we need a breath of fresh air. And we got it. But I wouldn't call it a breath of fresh air. Barack Obama basically began to play the race card early on in his presidency. He divided this country along financial, equitable lines. He divided this country upon racial lines. I'm not saying that it was all his fault, because I think those things were already here, but he certainly threw a match on it, and he lit the fire that made these things get worse. And I never will forget There was a police incident, and he had that big beer fest and brought the police officer in, and it was supposed to be a reconciliatory idea, but the police started being demonized then. Law enforcement began to be demonized. Everybody was out against Obama because he was black, and I had family relatives stop talking to my dad because Dad wasn't a big fan of Obama, and neither was his son. And you know, we lost family people, and I know a lot of you did too. And it was just a bad time. It was an 8-year. We had the government shut down, and I can just go into lists. Obama went over the seas and apologized for America, and again, he hid his birth certificate, he hid his origins, and to this day, I do not believe Barack Obama was born in this country. I just don't. You know, only God knows at this point. It's a moot point now. But I think the country, by the time 2016 rolled around, I think we had seen the elites take our nation since Jerry Ford, and that was 1976 to 2016. That was basically 40 years. And tear this country into pieces racially, tear it into pieces financially, tear it into pieces domestically or foreign, or the country, you know, the WMD debacle under Bush. None of the countries trusted a thing we said. Obama was basically no leader. The tyrants, dictators of the world, they were running rampant. I don't know what it is about the Democrat Party. There's absolutely, they are the absolute worst when it comes to foreign policy. And this is President's Day, so this is why I'm doing all this tonight, because I'm trying to get to where we're at tonight. And you know what happened in 2016? A man by the name of Donald Trump came down that staircase in 2015, announced for presidency that he was going to run for president, and everybody thought it was a joke. The Republicans thought it was a joke. And there was 26, I think, original Republican candidates for president when it started, including Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, I think somebody else in there that was a pretty big name. Marco Rubio was running for president then. And there was others that was the shoe-in that people thought they would definitely, Ben Carson would run that year. And Trump beat them all down. And he took on this establishment in a way that we had never seen him. He had promised things in 2016 we had never been promised by a candidate. And he made it clear that he wanted to take the power from D.C. and take the power from these elites and put it back in the hands of the people. The one thing, though, that happened, and I'll just say it like this, Hillary was his running mate. And I think the country hated her more than they loved Trump. And they were willing to give Trump a chance. Because at that point, the last thing that they wanted in running this country in 2016 was another Clinton and another Democrat. We had 8 years of Obama. We had all this crap go on, and the last thing we wanted to do, and I don't want to get into the what ifs about what if Hillary would have got elected, and I know all the what ifs, and I get all that, but I'm just talking in general terms. The country was sick of the Clintons, and she was so arrogant. She never campaigned in Pennsylvania. She never campaigned in Wisconsin. She never campaigned in Michigan. She just took it for granted. And I never will forget being up late that night. And when I went, it was probably after midnight. And I watched those returns start shifting toward Trump in those 3 states. And I said, holy cow, he's going to pull this off. And to everybody's surprise, the people that mocked him and to the world, Donald Trump became president of this United States. But the elites were not happy. And I've got a dear friend, and we're trying to get her on the show. And I talked to her about all this, and she told me, she said, Chris, she said, Donald Trump never did understand the swamp the first time around. Donald Trump was a businessman. He thought he could come in. He could negotiate with these people. He thought he could, in good faith, trust people. He thought in good faith he could put people around him that knew D.C. because he didn't know D.C. He thought in good faith that he could work with people like Nancy Pelosi. He could negotiate for the better of the country, that these people really cared about the country. And I know that there are people out there that say, well, that was just naive of him, but don't be such judgmental, because you would have felt the same way in his shoes. Never held that against him, but he did a lot of good things in his first term. But I want to say that the very same forces that undercut him the first time are trying to undercut him again. And then the incident in 2020 hit us. And you can believe what you want to believe. You can think what you want to think about that election. I no more believe Joe Biden got 81 million votes than Chris McDonald is good looking and 20 again. If Joe Biden got 81 million votes, we've got one sick country. And I don't think our country is that sick as much as we may believe it is. But I'll just leave it alone. Let me just put it in South Georgia speak. The thing was stolen. You can believe that or not. I don't know how exactly they did it. We may never find out. Maybe we will now. But we all thought it was the end of the world. And I'm going to bring the spiritual aspect into it. We had prophets telling us Trump's going to come back in, back to back. He's going to win again. And that didn't happen. And everybody's faith got crushed. And everybody's hopes got dashed. And everybody was questioning the prophetic community. They were questioning whether God had really spoken to these people. And these prophets did not help themselves. Some of them went into hiding for 10 months because they didn't want to take responsibility for what they said. Others of them dug in, claimed Trump was still going to come back in 21. And when that didn't happen, they dug in again and said he'll come back in 22. Some of them were basically investing their time in the Q nonsense, basically claiming that he was running the country from Mar-a-Lago with some secret society. And my dear buddy Chris Allman, I think he summed it up perfectly to me during that time. I just met him and Kim a couple of years before, and I never forget having lunch with him one day. And we got into this discussion, and he looked at me and he told someone dear to him, he said, well, if Trump is running the country, he sure does suck at it, because the country went into a tailspin for 4 years under Joe Biden. And we didn't understand it. Was God forsaking the country? Had God turned his back on America to give us Joe Biden? What was God doing? Why would God do what he did? Why didn't these prophets get it right? Why didn't the prophets see the pause? Perhaps maybe the arrogance that they had, and perhaps God was trying to let them know that he's in charge and not them. A lot of these prophetic words were political in nature. They were not spiritual in nature. They were not calling the country back to repentance. They were calling the country to Trump. There was a part of the MAGA movement that started worshiping Trump. There was a part of the Republican Party that thought Trump could walk on water, and that there was no absolute way that this could happen. And our own arrogance was our downfall. And the church got paralyzed in 2018 by the Q movement, because we were saying, you don't have to do anything. Trump's got this well worked out. Don't worry what you're hearing on the news. Don't worry what you're hearing in the media. It's all a show. It's all a movie. The real thing that's going to happen is Trump's going to put all these you-know-whats in jail. There's going to be Gitmo hearings. They're going to be hung from nooses. You don't have to worry about it. And I mean, the church just stopped praying. The church stopped doing anything because we figured Trump had it under control. We thought that all this news was being told to us was not really what was going on. And then the Q people were trying to code everything, and everything was a code, everything was a symbol, everything was this, and all this other bullshit and all this nonsense that went on. So the church stopped being the church. And lo and behold, Joe Biden became our president. And instead of the church accepting reality, you had church people out there basically saying, well, this was a show, that Joe Biden's a clone. And we were being told that everything was a clone. We were being told that Donald Trump was in charge. And then we had the J6 debacle. And I could go on. But we spent 4 years in hell. And nobody could tell you why. There was a lot of theories, but nobody could tell you why. And then the country got so sick in November of 24, watching this Democrat Party control this country, and the left show you their true colors of perversion and show you their vision for what they wanted for this nation long term. And I think it spooked even the left. I think it spooked people on that on that side of the coin, even to the point they said, we can't even stomach this. We can't even stomach this. And what happened with Joe in the summer of last year, they swapped out Kamala, and she was as radical, more radical than even Hillary Clinton. She was more radical than Nancy Pelosi. She was more radical than Gavin Newsom. There is no telling what her and Tim Walz would have done. And the country woke up and said, oh my God, we might need to look at Trump again. And he did. And we did. In a staggering fashion. He won the popular vote and the Electoral College going away. Wasn't even close. He almost won California. And internal polling showed he almost won New York. And then we watch this machine, and we watch him, and I watch him start putting his cabinet together. And I realized early on this second term, and by the way, while I'm at it, let me say this about the prophets, and let me say this about this prophetic, pathetic community. They started taking victory laps. People were out there saying, well, they got it right, they got it right, they got it right, they got it right. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Because see, they were telling everybody it was back to back. Nobody saw the pause without understanding that the pause was God's will. See, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that Donald Trump was God's will, and then when it don't go your way, you say, well, that's not God's will. When God puts Trump back in there, but yet you prophesy that it's back to back. And again, everybody's faith was focused on that, but we didn't see the bigger picture then, because we were being consumed with all this rabbit chasing that the church got itself into. And lo and behold, we didn't realize until this month, 1 month in, that if Trump would have got reelected in 2020, he couldn't have done a third of the things, a tenth of the things that the Lord has helped him accomplish in just 4 weeks. Just 4 weeks. It was totally God's will. What happened? It required the country going through a lot of pain, a lot of money that's gone out the door, a lot of things that have had to happen. And folks, we came on the brink of total destruction. But I think God allowed it to get the country to come to its senses as to the path it wants to take. But the group that you would think would have been the most happiest about that, forget the prophetic community for a minute. Forget that mess. Just forget that for a minute. I'm talking about the evangelical church. I'm talking about Christians that claim they know Jesus and claim that they're born-again believers. You would think that the one group in America that would be the most happy about Trump and be the most supportive of what he's doing, with saying that there's only two genders, a man and a woman, that would be happy that he's rooting out corruption of government in the DOGE, be happy that he's closing the border, closing our country to illegality and lawlessness. They would be happy that we're seeing a Department of Justice now with somebody over it that's going to actually enforce the law. And not just enforce the law for one side, but enforce it for everybody. That we have a Department of Defense head that's not walking around looking like Mickey Mouse and Pluto in the same vision with 16 pounds of plastic over his head, like an idiot. We'd be happy about that. You would think that we'd be happy that we've got an FBI director that seems like he's going to take care of business. But you've got the religious community calling him the devil. You've got Christians calling Trump the devil. You've got Christians calling Elon Musk the Antichrist. You've got, I'm not talking about, because Christians call the Antichrist all the time, but no, they're calling him the Antichrist of Revelation 12 and 13 and 2 Thessalonians 2. No, these people are calling Trump the Antichrist. You would think that we'd be happy that we'd have a president that would support Israel at all costs and not give them a carte blanche ticket, but support them and understand and have the moral clarity to decide that, hey, Hamas terrorism is wrong and Israel trying to defend herself, there's nothing wrong with that, and she needs to do what she needs to do, and let the United States sit back and say, you do what you need to do. If you need us, we're right here to help you. We got a president that's got moral clarity for that, but you've got Christian leaders that hate Israel so bad, they think that's evil. The one group that has been so mind-blowing to me has caused him the most grief out there in that la-la land of Twitter world and la-la land of the internet and that la-la land of whatever. I know that he's got spiritual advisors, folks. I get all this about his spiritual advisors, and everybody's worried about this one and worried about that one, worried about this and worried about that. Well, let me just give you a little different take on that. Somebody's must have been giving him some pretty good advice this first month. I don't know who's been speaking to in his ear, but if it's his spiritual advisors, I hope they'll keep doing that, because they've been actually telling him some good things to do, because I ain't seen anything he's done yet that's been wrong. Somebody's talking to him. But no, we got to have our 2 minutes of fame on the internet, don't we? And these Christian leaders have got to have their little flesh, and they've got to have their piece of flesh, and they've got to have their attention, and they've got to be attention hose, and they got to make sure the world thinks that everything's evil and everything's bad, and call somebody a witch, and call somebody this, and be name calling, and call him the Antichrist, and trash his family, trash what he's doing. When we don't even stop for 3 seconds of our pathetic lives and be thankful that the person that is making the decisions tonight on this President's Day of 2025 is not Kamala Harris. That the person making the decisions tonight for this country is Donald John Trump. And I played you the video. He almost got killed twice. They tried to put him in jail for over 2 years. They've indicted him over everything from eating a Philly cheesesteak sandwich to basically putting his coat on wrong in New York. They've done everything they can to destroy the man. But yet God's preserved him through it. And then you still, in the face of all of this, have church leaders basically calling for his death and calling for violence against the MAGA movement and calling the MAGA movement the most evil force on the earth. That's not coming from MSNBC. That's coming from behind pulpits. That's coming from behind pulpits. And then you've got the church that has lost its way spiritually to the point that you're not hearing a gospel message from a pulpit anymore. You're hearing a political sermon. All you're hearing is political speak. All you're hearing is the latest fads, the latest Instagram news, the latest YouTube news. We've got one of the best cabinets, folks. Have we stopped to think this tonight? That the cabinet that he has put together has been the best group of people I can think in recent memory. Let me change that. In all the cabinets, going back to Jerry Ford, there has never been a cabinet like we've got tonight that's free of the very people that has been seeking to destroy this country for nearly a half century. I don't see any deep staters in this group that he's got. And I see something that, and I'm about to quit, and I'm going to get to these videos. You know what else I see tonight? There ain't two messages. What do you mean by that? I mean that when you hear President Trump speak, his cabinet that's overseas, they're saying the same thing. They're not over there undermining him and subverting what he's saying to our enemies. You got a vice president that I could have hugged his neck for the absolute beatdown that he gave the elites of Europe this weekend at the Munich conference. And he told them to their face, you all have quelched free speech in Europe, and that spirit has made its way to America. You've tried to quelch people's rights and taken people's rights, and you elites have tried to control people, and we are going to stand up to you. And we are going to let you know emphatically, if we don't like what you're doing and disagree with you, we are going to tell you, and it's no longer going to be America last anymore. It's going to be America first now. That came from J.D. Vance. J.D., if you're listening tonight, from a former Ohioan to another, bless you, brother. I like Hillbilly Effigy, by the way. Elegy. Very good. It's a good movie. Made me respect you even a million times more than I did from the beginning. In your face. I'm getting blinking eye. We're going to play that video tonight. So on this President's Day, I'm going to use the words of Barron Trump. If you don't like the way things are, just stop and think about it, that you've got two men, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Elon Musk is not a co-president. J.D. Vance is the vice president. Elon Musk is doing this on his free time. All he's trying to do is clean out the garbage in D.C., clean out the corruption, clean out the pork, clean out the illegal money that has been the Democrats' gravy train and the left's gravy train and the Republicans' gravy train. This doesn't just infect the Dems. It's both parties are guilty of this. The gravy train is about to end. But Donald Trump has risked his own life. Twice he almost died to get to where he's at tonight in this presidency. God has spared him. I'm going to use the words of Barron Trump. I'm going to paraphrase these words. I got to find that exact quote that he said this recently. Why don't you just shut your mouth and stop belly aching about Elon Musk? Two men that are millionaires, billionaires that have thrown their basically lives away right now to help this nation to get back on path and get back on the track. It would be best for you just to shut your mouth and be thankful and say thank you for what they're trying to do. I don't know, folks, if they're ultimately are going to succeed. I hope they do. There are so many headwinds going against them tonight, it ain't funny. And you know, I could have played Bill Federer's interview. He could have said it a lot more articulate than I did. His biggest fear, he told me, and this will be in the interview, we'll play either tomorrow night or Thursday night. He said, Chris, he said, we are only one vote away in the House. He said, if this thing shifts in 26, if the church, and literally he said this to me off camera and on camera, he said, if the church goes into the apathy that it went into in 2016, we will lose that House. And he said the last 2 years of Trump will be nothing but impeachment. That's all they'll try to do, again. So, we have a choice tonight on this President's Day of 2025. We can sit on our blessed assurance. Trump's got this. We don't have to fight for our country. We don't have to be vigilant. We don't have to be sober. We don't have to go vote now. We don't have to do anything. Trump's going to fix it all. And we can believe those people in those mega hats are racist. We can listen to our black pastors telling us that all these white folks are white supremacists. We can listen to the religious leadership, throw shade on Trump, throw shade on Elon Musk. We can listen to our YouTube buddies calling Elon the Antichrist and Trump evil and all these people name calling and trashing his spiritual advisors and trashing his cabinet and trashing people left and right. Or we can just look up to heaven tonight and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that you spared this country from disaster. And I'm going to pray for President Trump. I may not like everything he does. I may not even agree with everything he does. But I'm going to pray for him, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut of criticizing what you're trying to do in this country, Lord. And as I would say,
elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. I was afraid that was going to say this is just dumb foolery. I was holding my breath that I got the right one, Jeannie. All righty. Now, what's going on in the news tonight? Let's talk about it. Let me tell you about this right here. I'm going to hold this story off just for a minute because this is about that Australian couple. This is another one I'm going to hold off. I don't know if you heard about this tonight, but the Trump administration, this was this afternoon, they have fired hundreds of the FFA. This was the firing of the FAA officials tonight that they were hired by DEI, and their policies led to that DCA crash. And I'm just going to read this. They fired 300 of these people tonight, over the weekend, I should say, as the DOGE works to eliminate DEI and wasteful spending Last week it was reported that the Trump administration was gearing up to fire probationary workers. Hundreds of them, 300 of them, received an email telling them they were terminated. Let me come back over here and say something about that tonight. They're in... Watson. Thank you, McDonald. Thank you, Sherlock. It is elementary, and let me get that off. Where's my... Did I get the right one? Where is this one? Is this the one?
Son,
Let me see. That's Pete Hexteth about the truth. Where is my favorite one that Jeannie likes so much? That's not it. Where is my... Well, that's something else. I've got all these videos. Where is my favorite one? That's not it. Is that it? No. This is it.
do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? The DEI led to people's death. DEI led to people's death in that plane crash. Instead of Trump sitting around and complaining about it, he said, I'm going to fix it. And he did. They're fired tonight, as they should be. Now, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. 60 Minutes, this is a big story. We're going to play a video about this chick. This chick claims that Elon Musk came in the building and she was trying to make sure that there was nothing taken that he could use. Christina Dye, remember that name. You're going to hear about it because they're going to probably go after her. This is the USAID thing. 60 Minutes was caught in another completely fabricated report Sunday night. Their lies are becoming sloppy, according to the Gateway Pundit. This time, 60 Minutes aired a segment about a sad young mother, Christina Dye, who was fired from USAID in Washington, D.C. this month, but this was a complete lie. She did not even work for USAID. She works for XLA and Jefferson Partners, a company that provides speech writing services for USAID. And Carrie Lake has more. Christina Dye was Samantha Powers' speechwriters. Powers was part of the Obama administration. And there's the video right there. I'm going to play this video. This is them on 60 Minutes Sunday night. We got more video about this. Watch this.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
All gone overnight for Christina Dye and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid distributed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. More than 8,000 USAID employees were sent home by the administration.
They're not looking for competency. They're not looking for if you're good at your job. They're looking for pure loyalty tests. And if you don't give it, you will be punished.
And they had to leave the building. And these are folks who had decades and decades of public service serving USAID across administrations, from, George Bush to Obama to the first Trump administration. And they were never able to walk back in the building again.
There was no process. No one explained to them why they were being relieved.
To my knowledge, they received an email, and then if they didn't leave the building, they were escorted out of the building.
Poor, pitiful Christina Dye. Carrie Lake said it best. This was Samantha Powers, speechwriter. We got more to say about her tonight. By the way, let me tell you how all broken up she is. She deleted her Twitter account tonight because got her hand caught in the cookie jar. We'll explain that more in a minute. Imbeciles. Sorry for the ad there. By the way, we're going to deal with Rick Warren in a minute. Speaking about the apostasy, this is the story of the Delta plane arriving from Minneapolis. It crashed in Toronto, Canada tonight. Look at that plane right there, folks. That plane, look at it. It landed upside down on a snowy runway at Toronto Airport. That's another air traffic situation. 15 people, this was updated as of 2:40 this afternoon. It was 8 this morning. Now 15 have been ruled injured, including one child. And they've been taken to hospitals. None of the injuries are considered to be life-threatening, according to Peel Regional Paramedic Services. We will keep you updated on this. The other 12 people were taken to hospitals, have mild injuries. and there were 76 passengers and 4 crew on board Flight 4819. They have been evacuated following the single aircraft accident, according to Delta and the federal administration. The plane left from Minneapolis, and it crashed and landed and flipped upside down. And at first, again, there were 8. They said 8 injuries, and there's the tweets. You can see these stories. All of these stories are on our website at the McFiles Mac Report newsroom, and we will find that. We'll find more about that out later, and so forth. By the way, this is J.D. Vance. Don't you love our vice president? He had this Mehdi Hassan was trying to school him on free speech, and J.D. was not having any of it. And here's the quote. Mehdi Hassan says, "I know you're busy lecturing the Europeans on free speech, but have you seen this?" And Mark Caputo was trying to make a big deal of President Trump's decision to limit AP reporters' access is as much fight over the Gulf of America as it is protest of that White House advisors say it's years of liberal word choices that AP's influential style book has spread. And J.D. Vance did not mince any words, and that's why I love J.D. Vance. He said, "Yes, dummy. I think there's a difference between not giving a reporter a seat in the White House press briefing room and jailing people for dissenting views. This letter is a threat. The latter is a threat to free speech. The former is not. Hope that helps." By the way, don't have time to get into all this tonight. We will this week because we got a lot to do. We're not going to get to tonight, but we got a week's worth of videos for you. Did you hear what Germany was doing tonight? Did you hear about 60 Minutes? Going with Germany. Officials point blank asking them, saying, if somebody posts a meme that you don't like as a government, does that give you a right to go arrest them? And the German official says, yes, it does. That's the very thing that J.D. Vance was condemning and telling the European elites, you're full of you-know-what for doing it. And we're going to stand up against it. And we're going to be a voice against it. And you're not going to bring that here to America, because we're not going to do that here in America. And the European elites lost their lunch over it. And Hassan was trying to, again, equate what J.D. Vance said about the free speech in Europe to this Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico thing. And the AP is refusing to call it the Gulf of America because it's, in their mind, an assault on Mexican values. So Trump said, I tell you what, I'll fix your problem. You won't have access to the White House. And let me tell you this, folks, there's no law, there's no constitutional place anywhere where Trump even has to have a press conference. Do you realize that? There's nothing in the Constitution that says that the press is allowed into the White House. There's something called freedom of the press. The press can report from the bathroom. Trump could put those reporters in a bathroom. He's got the prerogative. It's his house. Out of courtesy, those reporters are guests. And the way I look at it, if you show your derriere and you show your backside, that's where you belong. You belong in the toilet. That's where I'd put you, or you wouldn't come back in. I got no problem with that. I tip my hat. Again, on this President's Day, to 45 and 47, you either get with the program or get your stuff and get out. That's pretty simple. That's pretty simple stuff to me.
Do you understand
Thank you.
the words that are coming out of my mouth?
That's pretty understandable to me.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary, my dear Watson. J.D. Vance, if you're listening tonight, man, you the man. You the man. You are the man. And Jennifer, I tend to disagree with you. I'm very much old enough to remember the Carter years. I wasn't that young. By the way, this is something that we've not had a lot of story about. The Gateway Pundit reported it. We're going to deal with it this week. We've got Jennifer Smith Littlejohn coming next week, and we're going to run this by her. This Parkland shooting at Indiana's Mooresville High School. I know you didn't hear much about it, but there was a transgender student under arrest tonight. She was allegedly planning a Parkland-style school shooting there. They called her before she did it, and they were alerted to it, and we're following this story. This could have been very, very bad. And this story also is on our Telegram room. and we're going to be following this down the road and so forth. We want to start tonight with the video. Did you hear about the? Did you hear about these Canadians? I know I got a lot of Canadian people in my audience. So before I say what I'm about to say, I just want you to know I love you Canadians. This is not an assault. This is not, what I'm about to say is not reflected to our McFile Canadian audience. It's not, because I love you Canadians. You Canadians are very kind to this show. But it has been not caught without attention that over the last week, when the American national anthem has been played at Canadian hockey events, and hockey's a big deal in Canada, it's not as much a big deal here, but it's big in Canada, that when we play our national anthem up there, we get booed. So there was a hockey game over the weekend between the USA and Canada, and they booed us again. Now, when the Canadian national anthem was played, Americans didn't boo the Canadian national anthem. We said, you know, we respect you Canadians, and we love you, and you've got a right to your national anthem. But all of this is the brouhaha of Trump wanting to make Canada a 51st state. Now, I'm just curious if you've got a problem, with Canada being the 51st state, then, you know, maybe you don't like that. But I got to show you some video tonight of the hockey team, because this is what I'm talking about. This is the Canadians booing us. This is the Canadians booing us. Roll the tape. And this is what pursued after. That was one of 3 fights that broke out in the first 5 minutes of that hockey game. But I want to play that again. Listen to this. This is what they did. Now, I'm used to the McFiles getting booed. I'm used to me getting booed. But that was classless. That was the American national anthem. Come on, Canadians. Y'all can do better than that. Because this is how we handled your national anthem. Roll tape. Now, not one boo. Not one boo. Not one boo. That was played in an American arena, by the way, because the National Hockey League has Canadian teams that play us. I'm not fussing at you Canadians about this, but there was a brouhaha. There was so many fights you couldn't see straight. And I've got a video I'm going to try to find for tomorrow night or Thursday that Americans beat them 3-1. You know, that's not a huge win, but in hockey, I mean, you know, you don't score 15 goals. It ain't like it's a baseball game. But Americans dominated the Canadians in that hockey game. But, look, I don't know what Trump's going to do with Canada. I don't know where Canada's future is. But that was classless. And you boo us, then, you know, we showed class. A Canadian didn't. And again, nothing, no reflection on anybody here, but That was pretty classless. That's just me. Now, a couple of other things I want to talk to you about tonight. Here it is. Well, I can't play that one because that's got some language in it, and we got kids in the house tonight, so I better not play that one. There is a something that you may not have heard about. This is a dear lady that got Jasmine Crockett fired up. Whew! Jasmine Crockett is the insane loon down in Florida that is representing you Floridians. Floridians, what in the blank are you thinking, putting this woman over you? But this lady got her fired up, called her out on TikTok. I think this was today. Roll the tape.
Out of all the things that Democrats have said about Elon Musk, giving us their reasons for protesting against him, I have not seen one of them come out and say that the things that he has found are not true and that they are completely made up and fabricated by Elon Musk and his team. Not one Democrat has come out and said that, because if they wanted to protest based on that, that would make sense. If they felt that Elon Musk was making up things and not actually finding these monies that has been wasted and sent all over the world to different countries, that would be one thing. But they are out protesting against him, talking about nobody's elected Elon Musk, making up songs, singing on the streets. But not one of them has said that the things that he has discovered that the American tax dollar has been used for are not true. This lets me know that they have been misusing our tax dollars for far too long.
Now, what you don't see on that video was the reaction of Crockett. She went ballistic crazy and said a lot of nasty things about that dear lady right there. But they're saying all sorts of nasty things about Elon tonight, and they're saying all sorts of nasty things about Trump tonight. And all I got to say is let the chips fall where they may. By the way, I want to remind the left something, that we found a Democrat, and I want you to listen very carefully to me tonight. We found a Democrat, a black Democrat, that agrees with Elon Musk. And he's not only agreed with him, but he did the same thing that Elon did. Roll the tape.
Budget reform is not an option. It's a necessity.
The American people are entitled to transparency.
We can't sustain a system that bleeds billions of taxpayer dollars on programs that have outlived their usefulness or exist solely because of the power of politicians, lobbyists, or interest groups.
They're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and they're entitled to accountability to make sure that we're using the dollars for what we said it was for.
We are going to go through our federal budget, as I promised during the campaign, page by page, line by line, eliminating those programs we don't need and insisting that those that we do need operate in a sensible, cost-effective way.
What should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody.
We hope to be instilling an entire...
Is that Sleepy Joe?
Not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue.
No amount of waste is acceptable, not when it's your money.
We all know the government can be inefficient. We all know that the bureaucracy can be bloated. We all worked in the fucking White House. We tried to reorganize the government. We tried to find efficiency. It's hard to do.
And honestly, some of this is pretty annoying because it's some of the stuff we should have done.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. I thought for a second that Barack Obama and Joe Biden had become Republican. That was Barack, and that was Joe. Yeah, that's Sleepy Joe, that was in charge of the country for the last 4 years, telling us that cutting government waste is an American thing. Ah, you don't say. You don't say. You don't say.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I hope you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, AI or whatever the know it is tonight. On this President's Day, can somebody tell me, explain this to me? So the Dems have no problem when they do it. Because see, this is the catch. This is the catch. They talk it and they don't do it. Trump ain't had a big announcement about it. He's just went in and did it. And they can't stand it. Because, see, all that you just heard was bullshit. Because Joe and Barack didn't do anything to cut the federal government and spending and the administration that they did. None of it. That was talk. Trump, on this President Day, is not talking. He's doing. And that is the difference. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. I hope you got some time with me tonight. By the way, tomorrow, this is Letitia James. She had to chime in with her little 2 cents. You got to love this. This is rich. Roll tape.
Payments to the state of New York and to states all across this nation. It is unacceptable, unconstitutional, ultra-vires. They've exceeded their authority. And so it's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. Because Elon...
Letitia, listen to me, Letitia. Don't use terms you don't understand. Don't use terms you don't understand, Letitia. Don't insult yourself. Don't insult our intelligence, please.
Individuals at the Treasury and the President of these United States is not above the law.
And neither are you, Letitia. Neither are you. Neither are you. Neither are you. And if I'm Pam Bondi tonight, I'm looking into what she did to President Trump. By the way, you know why she's upset? Might as well put this in perspective. Letitia's got her hand in the cookie jar too. There were millions of dollars from the USAID that went to her and her Attorney General's office up there to basically go after Trump. They're finding out tonight, folks, and there are videos out there. And let me just say this: I might feel like, folks, when I play a video, we try our best to monitor these videos. If the language gets a little rough for you, don't be out there acting. Please don't insult my intelligence. I can't control sometimes what these people say. A lot of them are saying things we want to say anyway, but they say it. So if you got a problem with language and it offends you, we will apologize ahead of time. But we can't control what's on those videos. But I will say this: if I'm Pam Bondi, I'm going after Letitia James because they use money that you paid for to go after Trump. And her and Bragg both got funds from this same USAID to do illegal stuff in New York. But she's out there telling you that the president's not above the law. That's just so rich. So rich. Now, we're about to change course, but a few other things about this. This is the left getting unhinged about the Gulf of Mexico. How many folks are out there tonight? Don't y'all just love it being called the Gulf of America? I just think it's so funny. I think it's awesome. But the left ain't too happy about it. This was D.C. today. Roll the tape.
Gulf of Mexico! 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 Gulf of Mexico!
I gotta say, you gotta love the left. I know this is gonna sound mean. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize ahead of time before I say it. I wonder, this is just one of those questions. I probably should put it up as a poll question. I wonder if you walk through that crowd and you ask probably 80% of that crowd where the Gulf of Mexico was, how many of you believed or not they couldn't tell you? Some of those people protesting, they couldn't even tell you where the Gulf of Mexico is. The person that posted this made a good point. If you notice the signs were not there normally. Like usually when they do these little protests, they got these pre-printed signs. They got all these pre-printed posters. It's almost like they do it on cue. Pardon the pun. And the The funny thing is, they've run out of money. There's no money left to print the signs because Trump's cut it off by getting rid of the USAID fraud. That too was being used to finance this kind of junk. That too is going to stop. So, they can say what they want to do, but at least they're not doing it on our dime anymore. And by the way, if you'd like a geography class about where the Gulf of Mexico is, or I'll call it the Gulf of America, come see Uncle Chrissy. Uncle Chrissy would be glad to be Mr. Rogers and show you on a map where the Gulf of Mexico is. These people, you got to laugh. It's funny to me. It's funny. But I am curious how many of them would even be able to tell you where it's at. They probably couldn't. Probably couldn't. I'm about to get to the good stuff. Just bear with me. By the way, folks, this is huge. Did you hear about Mexico tonight? This is a story that's going to be ongoing this week, and we'll be covering it. The Mexican Senate has agreed to let the U.S. come in and rain hell down on the Mexican cartels. They've given Pete Hegseth the A-OK. You do what you got to do. Come get them. Roll tape. What you're seeing there, I probably should have put this in perspective for you. This is the 7th, U.S. Army 7th Special Forces Group training. You know what they're training for? They are headed to Mexico tonight to deal with the cartels. They've been given permission by the Mexican government. Now, you don't think that's an earthquake, folks? That is an earthquake. And that's the Trump effect. Because Mexico's afraid that they're going to be tariffed off into the Pacific Ocean if they don't. Trump will bankrupt that country. And he's had enough. And again, Lord, thank you, Jesus. We've got a president that cares about getting rid of cartels that kill people. Speaking of that, I don't know if you knew this or not. Today is the 500th day since October the 7th. 2023, and this is from Vivek, not Vivek, but this is a Twitter handle. Hamas terrorists threw a grenade into the bomb shelter where a Jewish woman was hiding. He entered, dragged her outside, shot her in the head, and smashed her head upon open with his rifle. And he says, don't you dare forget why Israel is at war. This all started 500 days ago, tonight. October the 7th of 2023. Tonight is also a historical night. Rush Limbaugh died 4 years ago tonight, one of the most powerful conservative voices in America. And he's very missed tonight. He's very, very missed. Here is Elon Musk talking about, oh, by the way, I want to play this right here. Speaking of that Christina Dye, I mentioned her. We're almost done. Bear with me. I'm going to get your comments. Roll the tape.
People are really scared, and they had to leave the building, and they were never able to walk back in the building again.
DOGE was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating. No one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good. And then Saturday, all of the websites went down, and then I lost complete access to my computer.
She lost complete access to her computer. Well, she didn't seem so distraught in the video on the left like she did the 60 Minutes on the right. Did you hear what she said, that she took the books out that were incriminating? That's sort of like Maxine Waters Friday night telling him that we don't know what they got on us. We can't let them in there, man. We can't let them in there. We don't know what these people have got on us. She as good as said there was incriminating stuff in the books. This is a memo to the left. That is why Elon is doing what he's doing. That is why Elon is doing what he's doing. You know, I'm just a wild Southern boy. That's elementary, my dear Watson. That's elementary, my dear Watson. Wow. By the way, this is breaking today. The judges are coming around a little bit. I'm going to get to the church stuff here in a minute. I got to pace myself because I might get wired up on the church stuff. But I'm pacing myself right now. We're going to keep you here tonight. Just not too much longer. But this is Elon Musk about why he's doing what he's doing.
You get taxed on what you own, you get taxed on what you buy, and you get taxed on what you own. And it's like, okay, this is, you know, taxes, and you know, and then what does it get spent on? A bunch of the stuff it gets spent on you don't even agree with. So you know that's why we need to reduce the size of government and just spend less money and you know, let the people keep a lot more of their hard-earned money. You know, it's yeah.
Let the people keep enough of their hard-earned money. I couldn't agree more, Elon. Couldn't agree more. Simple. Simple. Simple.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Let me tell you what the problem is. We can't got no money left because what we've given to the government has been used for fraud. And this is what the left is going insane about. Because they're not going to keep taking your money and using it as their personal piggy bank to wage war against you. And the individual that said that we shouldn't have played the thing about the security, there was no location on that. Do you not think the cartels do not believe that we're coming down there to get them? I mean, the cartels are not the junior varsity team. That's not putting nobody in danger. So please. Anyway, one more thing or two. I don't want to open up too many cans of worms tonight because I've got so much to talk about still, and we're running out of time. This is very troubling, but I will say this. I'm going to play this later. I will say this. This is the federal response today. The judge in D.C., of all people, and yes, this judge is no Trump fan, she slapped the Dems down today. Roll the tape.
He's tasked with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Elon Musk. A federal judge has just declined to issue an order halting Elon Musk and DOGE from accessing federal data and slashing personnel. Attorneys general from 14 states are attempting to stop Musk and DOGE from accessing data in 7 federal agencies and from firing or putting on leave employees in those agencies. U.S. District Court Judge Chutkan just refused to issue a ruling from the bench. So at that point, she has not halted Musk and DOGE from continuing their actions inside the 7 agencies at issue here. Just real quickly, because of your legal background, your quick thinking.
All right. 2 of the Supreme Court justices have subtly indicated that they would like to strike down the prevailing rule. It's not statutory. Those 2 being Thomas and Kavanaugh, in dicta, in other decisions. They'd like to get rid of this rule that a single district court judge someplace in the country can issue a ruling that holds for the entire country. It's not what the founding fathers expected here, and it's been gamed. And, you know, the right can do it too, so the left shouldn't be too quick to oppose that.
All right, did you hear what he said? That the Supreme Court, and it's huge, what they're trying to do is stop these federal judges in a certain part of the country that has no say in the overall part of the country stopping something that's federally mandated. And by the way, folks, let me just say I'm not a lawyer. This is we're going to get some legal folks on in the next few weeks about this. Nothing Trump's done is not within his power to do as the executive branch head. He has got, as President of the United States, it is his job to balance and to basically make fiscal policy for the country with the help of Congress. But he can clean out the agencies. These agencies are under the executive branch. It's not the court's business. It's not the Congress's business. It's the executive branch's business. And he's operating. He could put Mickey Mouse over this, auditing them if he wanted to. He could put Barney, the dragon. He could put Chris McDonald over there if he wanted to. That'd be a scene. That'd be a scene. But it's Trump's call, not these judges.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary, my dear Watson. Now, I've got more, but I got to stop because I do want to show you one picture. This was sweet. This was President Trump yesterday. Daytona 500. That's his little granddaughter. First president, I don't know if you saw the video, to ever, he drove the beast is what they call it, the limo that drives the president. He drove it along the track at Indianapolis like yesterday. He loves sports. That's another thing I love about him. I love sports too, and he's not afraid to go to these events. And he was cheered by the NASCAR folks, but that was such a sweet picture. And she was looking outside the window, and that was a very big moment yesterday. And I'm sure that the people in Indianapolis was grateful to see him. Here's J.D. Vance. Here's J.D. Vance. Roll the tape.
I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
It is in retreat. And let me say this about our vice president. He didn't tweet that out from America. He didn't send that by pigeon mail. He didn't send that by email. He stood right there in Munich. Did you see the faces of those elites, those smug European elites? He said it to their face. JD, man, we love you, man. We love you, buddy. You the man. You the man.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
And free speech is under attack, but folks, it's under attack here. Now, I know it's late. We've been going an hour and 24 minutes. Can you give me 15 minutes? I'm going to do this quickly. I'm going to pick this up more tomorrow night. But I've got to get this off my crow on this President's Day. I've dealt mainly with the political aspect of this. But there's been 2 incidents in the last week of the apostate church being on full display in this country. And I go back to what I said during my opening. Was that a monologue? Was that a rant? Was that a discussion? That was a healthy introduction to what we were going to talk about tonight. The first salvo seemed to be the Chattanooga pastor down the road from me here in Tennessee that decided that it was okay to call for violence against Elon Musk. Now, he's backtracked that, and he swore up and down that was just not what he meant. And you listen to the video, and it's pretty much go out and kill him. You know. And he claimed that the video was altered. I didn't see any altering. And then you get this mega pastor over the weekend that he laid the gauntlet down, and I'll let you listen to his salvo. And you got to listen to this. Again, this ain't coming from MSNBC. This is coming from one of the biggest churches, mega churches in Atlanta, Georgia, my hometown. Roll tape. And by the way, this one ain't altered either. Keep your comments for a few minutes. I'm going to take your thoughts in just a second. Just hang in here with me. Just hang in here with me. No paragraphs in that chat room, please. Keep your comments to a sentence or 2. Roll tape.
Come on, public enemy. I came to tell white supremacists. I came to tell MAGA. I came to tell white privilege. We coming, we coming, we coming. We coming, we coming. God said, when you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of the State Department. If you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of Congress and run them out of Senate. If you give me glory, I'm going to run them off of your job and run them off of your classroom. I need you to take your neighbor's hand and say, neighbor, we got to shout like we got faith.
That is not faith. That's not faith. That's Jamal, and I don't think I've got his last name. I call him Kamala Jamala. Why do I call him Kamala Jamala? Well, this is the same mega pastor that just a month before the election, just to put this in perspective of who you just heard ranting like a 2-year-old, I got a 6-year-old grandson that makes more sense than this one. I got a 3-year-old grandson that I would rather listen to than this garbage. I've got a dog that gets me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and makes me take her out. I'd rather go out in the middle of a 32 degree below weather with my dog to have to go do her job in the middle of the night than listen to this nonsense. But, just to put it in perspective of where his allegiances lie, roll the tape.
Lord, in the name of Jesus, I pray a hedge fence of protection.
That's Kamala Harris, same church.
No hurt, harm, or danger. I pray that you'll assign 100,000 angels to cover her head. Thank you, dear Lord, that you have given her this moment to defy the odds in front of the entire world. Now, God, not for her name, but we promise we're going to give you all of the victory. Not by might, not by power, but only by your spirit. And those of you who believe that Kamala Harris was born for this moment.
So Kamala Harris was born for this moment. Again, this ain't coming from the MSNBC archive. That took place in that same church where he's calling. And by the way, folks, I'm just a redneck from South Georgia, just a good old Southern white boy, and I guess I'm just one of those white supremacists because I'm wearing a MAGA hat tonight, and Donald Trump shirt. He was alluding to Trump. The MAGA. He said, tell the MAGA people we coming. And tell them MAGA people we're going to root them out. He was referencing Elon Musk. By the way, this is the interview that I think will put this all in perspective because he was on Joy Reid's show right before. I'm not sure if this was in between this. This is the Twitter. This is the Twitter piece that goes with that. This is from protested days after kicking Jesus is Lord out of her rally. This was October of 24. Kamala Harris is welcome to speak at Jamal Bryant's, I'm sorry, that's his last name, Bryant's, church, quote unquote, where a hedge of protection consisting of 100,000 angels was supposedly assigned to her. Well, if you want to know Jamal Bryant's theology, go no further than MSNBC. Speaking of the devil, roll the tape.
I would just like to get your thoughts on that performance, because that's what you have to call it.
Now, let me put this in perspective. What he's now going to do, everybody remembers Lorenzo, the gentleman, the black gentleman that was give that inspiring speech at the inauguration and prayed for President Trump and rocked the house. He's on Laura Ingraham. This is Kamala. Roll tape.
It was just painful. The only thing he was missing was tap dance shoes. It was really just buffoonery at its best, and it was a black eye to the legacy. To cry out free at last when the children who are about to be in cages can't say. When the immigrants who are getting ready to be turned away at the border. When people who children are going to be separated from their parents. When we can't get minimum wage in Detroit where he is. And so it was just a painful moment to close out, not just an inauguration, but to close out the King holiday.
Talk about the positive, or the affirmative role that the church really can play in this moment. People are very distressed in this moment. People are afraid. People are checking out. If people choose to check back in, what leadership can the church offer?
Let me tell you something. That question she just asked needs to be asked. When you've got an apostate church leading America, folks, I can tell you right now, America's going to go straight to hell. When you got pastors like this, that's, by the way, he don't have 100 people. He's got thousands. That's the new Birth Missionary Baptist Church down in Atlanta. This guy don't have just a few hundred folks. He's got thousands attending him. This is one of the biggest pastors in Atlanta, Georgia. Makes Creflo Dollar's church look like a Sunday school picnic. And I hate to call names, but I'm going to let you finish this video. I got something to say about it, and we're going to say goodbye.
Yeah, I think that the black church has a defining moment. We do our best under pressure. That's where it is that the real metal of who it is that we are shines through. It was the church that mobilized the Montgomery bus boycott. It was the church that mobilized the March on Washington. And so I think that America is getting ready to see a renaissance of the authentic black church that speaks truth to power. It would have been so appropriate if President Trump would have had Reverend Bernice King give the benediction. Very rarely does the inauguration land on the holiday celebration of Dr. King. And so to make that selection, he didn't just meander onto the stage. They chose him and chose him for a reason. And so I think that the black church and black preachers are going to have to really shine. And I want to go a step further, Joy, and say that even white churches are going to have to prove their merit.
Let me tell you something, Jamal. You ain't got to worry about the white churches, buddy. You might better clean up your own church. I hate to make this about race tonight. It burns me to the core. It burns me to the core. Don't be lecturing the white churches about a thing. You are an apostate. You are an apostate, and you're leading your congregation down a path, sir, that I got to watch what I say tonight. I just got to watch what I say. Don't be lecturing the white church about a thing. We got our own problems. But I'm going to say this to the black community tonight. You are being betrayed. You're being lied to. You're being manipulated. You want to know why the murder rate is 10 million times higher in the black community than it is a white community? Because your leadership is speaking to you like that. And putting hedges of protection around baby killers. And putting hedges of protection around people that would have drag queens preaching to your kids at age 6. And basically condoning abortion up to the 9th and 10th, 11th month. people that are telling you that it's okay. We don't care about whether Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would have brought unspeakable evil beyond words. No, we don't care about that. But the black church has got to take charge of America. Let me tell you something, sir. Don't be lecturing the whites. Because your lecture falls on flat ears to me. I have no respect for you. I've got more respect for my dog that goes out and does her job at 2 o'clock in the morning than I do you. And I know that's pretty tough, and I'll probably wind up on a right-wing watch program for saying that, and I'm probably going to be called a lot of names, and that's all right, because it's President's Day 2025. And all I got to say is that. And all I got to say is this.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I could say a lot more, but I don't want to be disowned by my McFiles audience and my family. That burned me to the crisp. But this is my point, and I ain't got to Rick Warren yet. I'm going to deal with Rick Warren tomorrow night and Thursday night. Rick Warren has got a problem with understanding that Jesus is not in the middle. I'll show you the news story. I might as well go ahead and do it now before I leave you. I know we're running a little late tonight, but it has so much. That's why I didn't have a guest tonight. I'd have never got any of this. Did you hear about this? Rick Warren tweeted something out today about the crucifixion. And this Crosswalk magazine, the former pastor Saddleback Church, is receiving backlash after posting a tweet that many viewed was an improper application of the crucifixion. It was not just an improper application, Crosswalk, it was blasphemy. His tweet on February the 11th likened Jesus' central position between two thieves during his crucifixion to him landing somewhere in the center of today's political landscape rather than on one side or the other. If you're looking for the real Jesus, not a character disfigured by partisan motivations, you'll find him in the middle, not on either side. Let me tell you something, Rick Warren. Jesus does have a side when it comes to baby killing. Jesus has a side when it comes to perversion and lawlessness in our country. He has a side when it comes to righteousness or unrighteousness, unrighteousness or righteousness, evil and good. He has a side. He's not a Republican or Democrat, but if a party supports baby killing, if a party supports transgenders running your nation, if you've got a party on this President's Day that does not care for anything but lawlessness, Jesus does have a side. Jesus does have a side. It's not political. So when Jamal Bryant tells the white church to get its act together, you know, I'm a white guy. I can tell the white church to get your act together. But Jamal, let me tell you something. The black church better get its act together too, because you're all apostate. The whole bunch of you are apostate. The whole bunch of you are an apostate. And you're reprobate. And let me tell you this, folks, as I close tonight. That's the biggest group right now that is resisting what's going on in this nation in the White House and the attempts to try to shift this thing back on the right track, and people like them. And that should make us all ashamed of people of faith. It's not a good look. All right. That's my 3 cents tonight. That's 3 cents to me tonight. And folks, I don't need you preaching out there in the chat room. That's my job. It should be the Gulf of America, Mindy. I'm in a wired up mood tonight, folks. Be good not to mess with the bear man. If you got anything to say, Rebecca, there's a lot of people that listen to Rick Warren. I hate to tell you, there's a lot of people that listen to him. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that listen to Jamal Bryant. There's a lot of black people. There's thousands. That church in Atlanta may have close to 10,000 people that go to it. That's a lot of folks. These people have influence. Don't think they don't have influence. Rick Warren still carries a lot of weight. He may be a flash in the past, but he still has influence. Folks, this ain't your chit-chat room. Listen, ask your questions. Carol, you're right. He talks of the black church. Christ has only one. There's only one church. Thank you, Carol. Good to see you tonight, Carol Smith. Christ has one church. And it ain't an apostate church. It's a true church. It's a true church. Thank you, Carol. You're absolutely correct. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Oh, 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 oh. Ho, ho, ho. We just getting started tonight. We just getting started. And Jeannie, they are liars. It's exactly what they are. All righty. Charlotte, you're right. If Jesus doesn't have a side, our lives mean nothing in eternity. That is so, so, so true. That is so true. That is so true. And folks, I didn't say half of what I wanted to say tonight, but I think we got you started. We got a record crowd tonight. This is about the biggest live audience we've had in a year. I'm so excited that we've literally we're approaching 500 people live here tonight. Holy smokes, Batman. It's good to have everybody tonight. I've done going an hour and 40 minutes, so I'm done. It's 9:45 in my zone here, 10:45 out east, so it's time to say goodnight. I've just started. I'm just getting started. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. We ain't got to the good stuff yet. Let me just make it clear, the opinions on this network are mine. And that's why we call this the McFiles and the Mac News Report. And if you have something to chime in about, MacFilesForum at gmail.com. And I want to wish everybody a very, very happy President's Day. And I couldn't have found a better picture of President Trump with the popcorn. Because I got a feeling, if this first month is any indication of what's coming over the next month, and the next month after that, Miller, if you're out there, I'll go buy the popcorn for me and you both. Because Miller's my buddy. And we're going to enjoy the popcorn, Bubba. We're going to enjoy the popcorn. We're going to enjoy the popcorn. And all I got to say, to the left, I've said it before and I'll say it again, you might want to pace your anger. And you might want to pace yourself. Because you're using up a lot of energy this first month. And I got a feeling that when he's done, you may not have enough energy left. But let me say this to our side, to the mega side, to the right side. Call it whatever side you want to. We don't need to get complacent and arrogant about it. We need to keep fighting for this country. And we need to stay vigilant and be diligent in our focus. And to make sure that we make sure this House and this Senate stays in Republican hands for the 4 years of Trump. That goes back to us. And we need to be calling our representatives and making sure they're voting what they're up there to do, and that's for you. They're not up there for themselves. And that's about to change too, because a lot of them think they control you. No, you control them. But the popcorn is on pace. I got so much else to share with you, but I got to wait till tomorrow night because I'm out of time. Did you enjoy the show tonight? At least it wasn't boring. By the way, Cedric, finally, I forgot. I meant to say, I asked you a while ago about not asking questions, but you can ask them now. Tomorrow is the Cash Patel vote. We will have coverage of that. I'm sure that will be the big story tomorrow night. I will be coming to you by audio only tomorrow night. I will be with family tomorrow night, and I'll be in a place I'm doing something for my Faith Network. And then I'll be back with you Wednesday night on the Faith side, and then I'll be back here Thursday night. We'll be here tomorrow night, but it'll be audio only. Probably a good thing. It's audio only. Because that way I can make faces into the camera of what I think about what I'm gonna post, and you don't have to see my face. You don't have to see my face. And if my dog's listening tonight, don't be getting me up at 2 o'clock in the morning saying, well, you told me, I said you don't mind me getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and me going to do my business at 2. I'm just saying. That was just a figure of speech. That's just a figure of speech. But if you enjoyed the show tonight and got something out of it, put some fire in that house. Put some fire in that house. And Jay, we ain't taking a victory lap, but I tell you what we are taking. We taking some popcorn in. No, it ain't time for victory. No, it ain't time for victory. But there's a lot of good things being done. Love him, like him, hate him. Having a hissy fit. You can stomp, snort, anybody can. And I want to say this. I know Laura's out there and Cindy Mack, they're from Canada and others. We love you Canadians. We love you Canadians. I'm so glad Laura comes in here and she's a dear friend. We're not trying to disparage Canadians. I think that the Canadians will be the first to tell you their leadership sucks. And a lot of this animosity is really coming from the brush up with Trump and Trudeau. And Trump's comments about making Canada the 51st state. And, you know, that's for debate. The one thing we've not talked about tonight, and I wish we'd had more time, was Israel. And I'm going to deal with that tomorrow night. Tonight marks the 500-day anniversary of October the 7th. And that hideous attack on Israel. And we're going to deal with that tomorrow night more in detail. We'll probably have James Akers on the phone. Bill Federer will be with me this week. And one night we'll have that interview we played with him. Because all he's going to do is repeat what I just said tonight, folks. He's just going to do it a little bit more eloquently and a little less redneck. But that's all right. Because Chris don't mind being a redneck on his own show. Because I've been doing this 7 years, and I'm all right with being a redneck. Because it is the McFiles. And I enjoy it. And I love you guys. That's why I do it. And I love my country. And I love the Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm grateful He's my Savior. And I'm sick of this apostate system that I see trying to destroy our country. It's a shame and disgrace that we've got pastors like the one in Atlanta and others that are denigrating the faith. But they're also destroying the country and souls with them. And that's how I see it. All righty. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. I will see you tomorrow. And I'm going to play that thing of Trump one more time as we go out here tonight. Because he basically tells you why he's doing what he's doing.
Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you.